Well, Carl, I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to talk to you. It was so funny because I was just about to call the Golf Channel and say, you know what, I want to talk to Carl. I want to talk to him after watching you play last night and what a terrific sport you were and how you and Robbie got along. I just knew I had to talk to you. So thank you for being here.
Well, it's my pleasure, Gail. Thank you for having me.
Well, because this is the first time you've been on the interview list, I'd like to ask, how did you get to be on The Big Break?
I've always been a fan of the show, and initially I kept on watching to see when they would be soliciting, applications, and I just, for some reason, I would miss it. And, the season prior to this, let's step back a little bit. It's a season prior to Big Break, Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that they were looking for people, and I filled the application out very quickly, only to realize that it was an all-female cast, of course, and so I never got called. But I kept on watching, and I had actually pre-populated all the forms that I had already. So when this season came up last fall, I went ahead and applied and was lucky enough to be called to Orlando to have an on-camera interview. And, that led into me being chosen as one of the competitors for the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, watching you out there, people were calling you, I think David called you the analyst, and I read your bio and how you have only been playing for about 6 years, and yet you've got a terrific golf swing. And part of that is due to your analytical nature, I understand. Tell me a little bit about how you have used your ability to work out the issues and the fundamentals to create different shots.
Well, the key thing is that I realized that I started very late to golf, and I fell in love with the game, and for some reason I've become a golfaholic. So I had to find a way to advance, my game to the level that I can be competitive. So what I've done is I've kind of simplified the game, and I've created this acronym for the game for golf called Game of Limited Fundamentals. Mm-hmm. And what that basically entails is, rather than trying to manage hitting perfect shots, I see what is inherently characteristics to my body, and then figure out what variables I need to change to make me hit the shot that I'm trying to hit.
Okay.
It's, for example, you and I will have different swings. You and I will have different swing speeds. But at the end of the day, the very fundamental thing is that we want to get the club back to the ball square and going down the target line. If I naturally come over the top, what can I change to cause the fact that even though I'm coming over the top, the club will come back square? If you are coming from way too inside, what can I change about you that can cause the club to come back square? And what that does, it negates you trying to learn a particular technique. Now, this is not right for everyone. I mean, if you're trying to teach a kid who is just learning the game, I recommend that you do it with all the fundamentals in place. But if you have someone like me who loves the game and really wants to play the game but doesn't have enough time to devote to playing it, that's kind of the concept that I use. And so far, I've just collected enough data on my natural tendencies, and I've written them down, and that helps me to know, okay, if you want to fade the ball, don't think about anything else. Just change your grip and swing normal. So those are some of the things that I use in order to help me to be able to play, competitively.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was reading you have a baseball grip for straight shots, interlocking grip to hit some fades, and overlapping to hit draws, and that's really fascinating. Well, you know what? I think we saw that little red book with you on the show last night. Certainly, you were looking at some of the issues going into the glass breaking. Should you move the glass forward or whatever, or back? And then again, giving advice to Robbie on taking that extra half point by buying it with half his money. And they, both David and Robbie seem to rely heavily on you for your analytical ability to come up with the right answer. So I thought that was pretty cool. So tell me a little bit about how that book helped you throughout the big break.
Well, the key thing is, again, the Red Book itself contains all of my data, all of the things that I need to remember. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be the first time that I'm actually going to tell one of the main secrets of the Red Book. The Red Book contains a time in my life or an experience that will help me to relax.
Oh.
For example, if you saw, I think it was last week's episode, I was teaching Robbie how to relax. If he's coming and he feel any tension, sing a song, or remember an experience that was great, or remember a joke that somebody told you. The Red Book contains something like that for me. So if I ever get too tense and I realize that you're going to get to a point where you're going to be too nervous, I remind myself of a joke or something that happened, and it allows me to relax a little bit. The second importance of the book is it contains all the data about the challenges that we were doing. So I would walk off, each of the distances. I would measure the exact width, height, length, and everything, and then work out in my head what type of shot would you need to hit in order to hit that glass. For me, the Red Book says that if I want to hit a low shot, I have to place the ball back, use my normal baseball grip, and just punch the ball like I'm swinging to the right. So once I know the distances, those were some of the things that we did. But beyond that, it also kept track of where everybody was on the money list, and it also, allowed me to be able to negotiate with the guys and say, hey, here is where you would stand in scenario X, here is where you would stand in scenario Y. Do you want to spend this amount of money and then go to the elimination challenge and not have enough, or do you want to save that, recognize that we might still win, but give yourself an advantage? So those are kind of the conversations that we have based on what's has been worked out in the Red Book and all of that good stuff.
No, that's pretty cool. Because most people's memories aren't very good, and the fact that you kept it written down, I'm surprised the Golf Channel didn't say, hey, you can't take that out there. But I'm glad they let you do that. Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's great. I'm glad that you were able to. I hope we get to see that little book come out again in future episodes. Well, we had the glass breaking, and then we had the part that broke everybody's heart when teams had to turn against themselves, and you and Robbie and David had to compete for getting immunity, and we could all see that had a real impact on you and Robbie. And I just want you to just talk to me a little bit about, how did you get through that?
It was very emotional because Robbie has become, I can tell you, Robbie is like, I think of Robbie as an actual, biological brother. It was one of those crazy things that happened when we got to the show and we looked like we were the odd couple because, we were rooming together. I'm from, Jamaica. He's from, North Carolina, and it was just one of those things where we just, most of the people would tell you that they didn't think we were going to be able to understand each other, especially because Robbie has a deep, Southern accent, and of course I have a Jamaican accent, so, but we've gotten so close in the show, and, was at that point, we wanted to protect each other for what we call the penultimate battle. That was our objective. We're going to beat everybody, and then when it comes time for us in the finale to face each other, we're going to be at peace with that and do it. So, when I go into team mode, I go all out to protect the guys who, are part of my team.
Yeah.
When they switched it on us and said, you're now going to go up against the very person you were playing with and playing for, it was kind of a big thing. And then to know that it came down to me and Robbie, at this stage in the game, one of us was going to be going to the elimination challenge. It was, again, it wasn't the right time, I thought, and again, even though we know that ultimately only one person could win, you know, Robbie is one of the smartest persons I know. He just doesn't give himself enough credit. But you know, it's you know, it was kind of emotional because it was a hard-fought battle to get to that point, and then to know that my decision or our decision initially about not moving our keys back placed us in that elimination challenge, and then potentially would have caused one of us to go home had it not worked out the way it did.
Yeah. Well, you know, hindsight, it's 2020, as they say. Well, you sat on the bench and you had to watch it. I mean, you know, my heart was in my throat. I can only imagine what yours was. And then you're listening to all these comments around. It must have been a bit of a stressful time for you sitting there amongst your competitors, and you know, and you don't want to wish anybody bad luck or anything, but certainly your heart was with Robbie. So tell me a little bit about what it was like sitting there watching it.
Yeah, I tell you, it was mind-boggling. I think, you know, there's only a few times in my life that I've been rendered speechless. You saw one on national TV, and then the other one is when I was sitting on the bench just hoping and praying that, you know, he would, you know, be able to make it through that elimination challenge. So, you know, again, at that point, without knowing, you know, what the outcome was going to be, you know, I still bore responsibility for the fact that potentially the decision that we made could have caused Robbie to go home. And so, you know, it was very tense. I can tell you that much. I don't wish Justin any ill will, and to be honest with you, it doesn't matter who would have gone up against Robbie, my feelings would have still be the same, and I know I got along well with pretty much everybody on the show. So, you know, I think everybody knew that myself and Robbie had that special relationship where, you know, we were out there to protect each other. So it doesn't matter. It's nothing personal. It's just that, you know, Robbie is the guy who has become, you know, one of my best friends, and as a great guy, you definitely don't want to see him go just yet. No.
Well, you know, curious to find out. We were into 3 episodes now, and you know, is the big break everything that you hoped it would be when you applied? Was there anything that surprised you about the big break? Anything you wanted to share as we wrap up today's interview with your thoughts on the big break so far?
I think the most shocking thing to me is the pressure that is there. You know, you play casual golf, you might play a club championship, you might play in a sanctioned tournament. I cannot put in words the level of pressure that you feel over each shot. You know, mainly because that could be your last. You don't have a chance to make up a shot or a stroke on the next hole. It was an intense pressure. You know, to finalize my thought on that, I will say this. Back in 2001, I was interviewed by Microsoft, and that interview lasted 10.5 hours. Now, I felt that was the most pressure-packed environment that I've ever been in. And at that time, I thought it would be, you know, the most pressured environment that I was ever going to be faced with. But I can tell you, that 10.5-hour interview pales in comparison to what we went through on the big break. But at the end of the day, it was a great experience. I think going forward, it has immuned me, in a sense, to the pressure that I potentially will face, you know, on my path to the PGA Tour, because now, you know, you're just, you know, having gotten that experience, it's great for you going forward.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that one. Well, you know, Carl, I'm so glad that you got in touch with me and that we have had a chance to chat. I hope we can continue this conversation going forward into future episodes, and I wish you all the best in this show. It's been a real pleasure watching you so far. I'm looking forward to next week.
Well, thank you, my dear. Hopefully I am there for another week.
I hope so too, Carl. You take care.
All right, take care, Gail. Thank you.
Bye.